Well, hi there. I'm going to share a brand new one with you. This is brand spanking new. It's taken a few months since I got the first idea and the first few verses down, but it kind of stalled out because I wanted it to go somewhere specific, and those are usually the harder ones to do. For me, a lot of my poems just kind of come with an idea, and then at the end I see where they went. But this one I wanted to take a certain direction. So this one you're going to see a few parallels. Now, the amount of time I've spent horseback and working cattle and stuff like that, different jobs I've had as well, and of course now I'm pulling ranches as well. So it gives me a little different viewpoint into different people out there. And there's been parallels drawn of where the cattle industry went. It didn't actually last that long with the guys moving cattle up the trail, years ago. The 1880s and whatever. It was a pretty short time period, but people raising cattle has been around a long time. And what do you do with those cattle? Well, eventually they end up on the supper table. Well, how do they get there? Somebody's got to move them, and that's always been a job. So this one gives you a little different viewpoint on that job. Life of a cowpuncher. I was raised on those old stories that were told by trail-worn men of long days out with the wagon, pushing cattle to the trail's end. And they said cattle numbered in the millions were pushed along those trails, but those times didn't last forever, though. They were finished by 2 steel rails. And then stock cars were loaded with cattle by cowpunchers working the pens. Those rails spread, and they got longer, but everything comes to an end. So now they've torn up most of those rails, a decision made by those with the bucks. The cattle still need hauling, but that work is now done by trucks. I start each day before sunrise, and it's still dark when I start my old Pete. The snort and rattle of that 6NZ cat says she's ready to stretch out her feet. My saddle is a custom Bostrom seat since my body's got a little bit older, and that heated seat sure helps my back when the weather's a little bit colder. As I pull out of my driveway feeling older, but none the wiser, I glance up at that little picture of my kids up there on the visor, and I'm reminded who I do this for, why I drive to make my living. I'm gone so many days from home, but my family's pretty forgiving. As I turn my rig on the main road, the day is just cracking dawn. See, there's another cattle auction today, and it's time to be rolling on, so I shift the eating through the road gears, sometimes splitting on the hills. She's running smooth and steady, but I always get the chills when I see the shine of morning sun glinting off the old girl's chrome, like silver on them old boys' saddles that told the stories back home. We'll pull into that prairie cow town usually sometime just before 3, park her down below the pens, and then it's up to the auction for me. I order up a burger and fries from the cookhouse in the place, and while I eat, I'm watching folks, and I study every face. I see kids with plastic cattle trucks, orange crush, and dirt around their lips. And there's leather-faced old ranchers with canes and gibbled hips. There's some brothers from the colony talking about the price of fuel, and 2 teenagers sitting there at a corner table. They're probably playing hooky from school. There's buyers coming down for coffee, and ranch wives just on a day in town. Some kid's out front with a box of pups he said his granddad wanted to drown. Well, as the sale starts to near its end, I get the call I was waiting for. They bought a load of Charolais steers, so I head on out the door, climb back in that saddle and punch that button on the dash, back up to the loading chute, and then drop my deck ramp with a crash. Count those yellows on the liner: doghouse, nose, top deck, and belly. Cram the last few on the tail, and then double check my tally. Boots and prod go in the dog box. I drive with slippers on my feet. This truck is now my motorhome. Got to keep her clean and neat. We got a good long drive, too, crossing 2 provincial lines. It's all feel, timing, and balance between speed and traffic fines. Old Pete had a fresh inspection at the shop just down the road, and a full service and all new tires have got her ready to pull this load. The scale is open at the junction where the DOTs like to gather, but I don't worry when I pull in, 'cause they ain't gonna find nothing the matter. We'll drive along all-nighter that'll get us there before 9, and they'll unload us at the feedlot, and we'll be done in record time. I'll pull into the Flying J for some breakfast and a shower, and then back out to my comfy bunk, and I'll sleep for a few more hours. But then it's back into the old saddle. Point old Pete on down the trail, through rain and shine, sleet and snow. You know that we ain't gonna fail. 'Cause those cattle still need moving, from pasture to the plate, and just like those stories of long ago, this is a cowpuncher's fate.